Here we are. Good morning. As you know, Courtney, this is Mrs. Pierno, Mrs. Chrissy Pierno, and we are chatting about the President's Day voting for which pet President Trump should get. And luckily, Chrissy's in the class, so she could be there firsthand and help me along the way. I picked the voting and the President's Day just because it was President's Day weekend, and that day, on that Friday, we actually had a few presidents from Nationals Park. We had these presidents that dress up and they run around before the games and they race, and we were lucky to have them that day, so it kind of all tied in together. So I thought it was kind of fun. We voted in a way, like we would vote about if we're gonna do choice time or recess, but it was fun to do the voting with the ballot box. It was nice to have them at the circle, I thought. They did less on the camera, I noticed. They weren't as silly. I think also, looking back, one of the things, I don't want to say struggle with, but just keeping all the kids' attention, the entire time. But again, I have to remind myself they are 4 and 5, but still, you want to really be able to nail that. Mm-hmm. The book, I like starting off with the book. The book was from our library. It was fine. It wasn't as fun as I had wanted, so I kind of ad-libbed a lot at the end. What do you think so far, how it went from start until the book?
I think you used the book as a good, like a perfect little thing to tie it all in. Mm-hmm. I thought the book fit well, because you were just talking about like, it was George Washington.
It's George Washington, and then he had a pet.
Right, and I thought that was great, because like he was the first president, and
we saw
everybody knows George Washington.
Yeah, right,
so I thought that was nice just to kind of start with, because then that kind of set the ground for everything else that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the book was like a great way to kind of capture their attention and like kind of a set it up point to jump off.
Mm-hmm. Right, because then after the book, then
the other thing I noted was the questions, like the way you kind of started out. And I kind of do this a little bit too, but it's just kind of like asking that question about like, what's a pet, or like, what's a president, and kind of, and I think that I think you did that before you read the book to kind of give them that like background knowledge, to kind of get their mind thinking.
Right.
So I think that just the start of this was good.
And then a lot of times I know, you say any questions, and that 95% of them are comments.
Right.
So whether they know the difference, I don't know, but so I can't say that's a comment, part of a question. So I noticed I did that a lot. People who are acting, disruptive. There are a couple people I noticed, but it wasn't anything crazy. Mm-hmm. But again, the camera, they were looking, but not as bad as before. And like you said, they are getting used to it.
Yeah. I would say I agree. Like I think they focused more. I think that the way, just the overall lesson was very engaging for them, because they went from a book to standing up and voting and writing and an interactive piece. And they had to think about whether or not they wanted a cat or a dog. Right. And then they got to write it. Like, I think that whole, like, think about it, write it down independently was great.
I like how we do that now. We put index cards, on the tables, and they actually have to start writing these words. So I had dog or cat on these words, on these index cards.
And I think it was very, like, exactly what we've been doing, so that was perfect.
Right.
And then, but they had to take their ballot, and they had to write it, and then they had to put it in the box. I think that was great. It was cute because it was like a heart shape.
It was a heart shape for ballot. I had that.
That was perfect.
That was so funny.
And then I think it was great. Like then you were on the board, so you went from like red chair, kind of walking around, to like kids were here, to kids were on the carpet and on the whiteboard. I think that like that sort of movement in the small space, I think it kept their attention. I think the topic was like so on point. They loved it.
It's amazing.
Oh my
gosh,
back.
She's so funny. How about a hamster? I laughed when I looked back at it. No, it was the first time I used the board, which was great. I enjoyed that.
And then you were talking about tally, so that you kind of learned that. And I would say like, so we've used a little bit of tallies and just like, which is great. So like,
Mhm.
it's still familiar for them. They still got to like,
And skip county, and like then you have
Yeah.
5, and then
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a big concept for
It
them.
is,
So
yeah.
it's not like they probably like got it. But I mean, I think I mentioned tallies the other day, and they were like, yeah.
right, you just tell us the
So
other day.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's all like things that is just good to keep talking about with them
Mhm.
in that sense, the voting part. But yeah, and then I would say, I forget how it.
Well, then we had, when we were doing the voting, I was so surprised, it was interesting. I wrote this in my reflection as well. The competition between a cat and a dog. Like, kids were like, took this as a competitive
totally. Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, and they love either cats or
You're right,
dogs.
yeah.
So of course they wanted their cats to win.
And then
I think you handled the competition part of it well. I would say like definitely that yeah, it's really easy for them to get so competitive.
Right,
so it was
yeah.
probably really interesting for you to see
Yeah.
firsthand.
I didn't even think that they would even be an issue. But I mean, they're competitive in recess and things like that, but like.
And like I think that
It was
in
fun.
like what I've done to kind of like dump that like
Yeah.
kind of more chanty, kind of like really competitive,
Mhm.
aggressive kind of competition is saying things are like winning, things are not a winning game, but like a playing game or
Right,
a
right,
learning
yeah.
game, right? But I think it was very clear that this was to decide what was like there was
Right,
a
right.
clear end result. So like they were, I don't know, it was really interesting.
Yeah. And then, so then it ended by saying that we're going to write President Trump a letter,
Right.
and they would help me with the letter. And so they wrote, be kind.
That's right. They came with
They came up with a few lists, be kind, walk away when someone's being mean.
Yeah.
And so that
Take
was
good
fun.
care of your pet.
Yeah, it was really
yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
So by far, I would say of the few I've done, this is the most fun. I mean, obviously, it's cat and dogs, but I just felt, I don't know, when I finished, I was like, okay, it made me feel good.
And I think
Yeah.
you seemed very comfortable. Like if you just kind of like think back to, I know math has like a lot of manipulatives and a lot of like things you kind of want to cover, so that it just is more stressful.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
less
it's very
routine.
different. Yeah.
But I think that you're also more comfortable like taking the class, and like leading it and running a lesson.
Right.
Just from all the practice.
Right.
And like
exactly.
thinking back and the reflection, I think it's like, I think it's all like, it's leading up, like you're,
Right. I'm
you
going in the
know?
right direction. Thank
Exactly.
goodness you're not going backwards.
Exactly, or like, and you're noting, like, we've talked about like having them get up and like move around and fewer things for them to play with. Like, these
Right.
are all topics that we've talked about about other lessons being like the part that you would fix and you did.
Right,
it was
right.
like very clear that like
Right.
you were thinking about how to improve on those. That's great.
Thank you. And I didn't use equity sticks this time because it just took too long last time, so just called them up, which made it go faster. But thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have one more to do.
All right.
All right.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, Spirit.
No problem.
All right. Thank you all. See you.